guys, and welcome to The Bite. My name is Jackie, and today we're going to be making a delicious and super simple mushroom truffle risotto. Here's what you're going to need. I've got 2 cloves of garlic and 1 shallot that I've already chopped. You can also substitute a shallot for a small onion. I've got some fresh Parmesan cheese, arborio rice, 2 tablespoons of butter, a small sprig of fresh rosemary, some white wine. You can use either Pinot Grigio or today I'm using Chardonnay. Some Cremini mushrooms that I've also already chopped. You can substitute this for white mushrooms if you'd like. Some truffle oil, some good quality extra virgin olive oil, dried oregano, poultry seasoning, Herbs de Provence. You can substitute for Italian seasoning, some fresh parsley for garnish, salt and pepper, and I also have 8 cups of low sodium chicken broth simmering on the stove on low. So let's get started and put this all together. Okay, so I have 2 tablespoons of olive oil heating up on the stove, and to that we're gonna add the shallots. And immediately you start to hear it sizzle. That's what you want. And we're gonna stir these up until they get nice and translucent. The shallots are nice and translucent, and now to this we're just gonna add our garlic. I do this after the onions have cooked, just so that the garlic does not burn. Garlic burns pretty quickly, so we just want the garlic to be nice and fragrant. And then I'm gonna add 1 of my tablespoons of butter. Let that melt up nicely. So we got our butter nice and melted. Next step is adding all of our mushrooms. I want to coat this in all the olive oil and the butter, get the flavors going. And to this, we're going to add our salt. This helps to bring out the liquid from the mushrooms, which we want. The liquid from the mushrooms is going to help kind of deglaze the pan a little bit. Okay, next we will add a little bit of the pepper. And with this risotto, we want to make sure we salt and season every layer. We're going to cook the mushrooms separate from the risotto. And I have a plate here so that I can put the finished mushrooms on there before I start cooking the risotto itself. Okay, you can see some of the mushrooms are already starting to cook. Next, we will add a little bit of the poultry seasoning. I love this. It kind of gives just like an earthy flavor. I use this for everything. All right, the Herbs de Provence. And lastly, the oregano. So you'll notice that the salt really helps take the liquid out from the mushrooms, and they're cooking up nicely. Okay, so you guys can see the mushrooms are almost done. I'm telling you, when you make this at home, your house is just filled with the aroma from the Herbs de Provence and the poultry seasoning. It smells just so good. So at this point, I'm gonna lower the heat a little bit, and I'm gonna take this off the stove. I'm going to put it onto my plate. Okay, now we're ready to start cooking up the risotto. I'm going to add a bit more olive oil to the pan, and you'll notice that I use the same pan that I cooked the mushrooms in. We want to keep that delicious flavor in the risotto while it's cooking. So I got some more olive oil in, and we're just going to add our arborio rice. This is going to help toast it and give it just a nice nutty flavor. And I told you I was adding 8 cups of chicken broth to this amount of risotto, and it looks like a pretty odd ratio, but really this cooks a little different from a normal rice. When you add it, you're adding the broth 1 cup at a time, and it's gonna allow the arborio rice to become a risotto, and by risotto it's gonna become very creamy, and the starches are released from the arborio rice, giving it the nice richness that it's gonna have. Okay, so it's kind of toasted up. You don't need to have it get a golden color or anything. You just want it to toast up a little bit. To that, we're gonna add our wine.
How much?
That's exactly what you want to hear.
How much?
That's gonna help deglaze the pan just a little bit. I added about half a cup, I'd say. And so with that liquid, you want to kind of let it cook out a little bit and let the starches begin to release. I don't know if you can see that creaminess, but look at the little lines from the starch. That's exactly what you're wanting. Now we can start adding our chicken broth, 1 cup at a time. So I have low sodium just so I can control the amount of salt that's gonna go into the dish. And we're gonna start adding it. 1 cup at a time. This is something you have to be very patient for. It is, you know, slightly time consuming. This is not really the time to walk away from the stove at all. You wanna stay next to it and make sure that once the arborio rice has absorbed the liquid, that you add your next cup of chicken broth. So this is after my 2nd cup of broth. And you can see that the risotto is already starting to form and it's starting to expand just like any normal rice would. And because of that, you want to make sure that you have a pan that is wide enough and has elevated edges to give the arborio rice room to grow. And you can see this is from 3 cups of chicken broth that it's already forming a creamy texture. And that's what I love about risotto, is that it's super easy to come up with a vegan or vegetarian version without any dairy. Obviously I wouldn't be using butter or cheese in a vegan version, but if you guys want a vegan or vegetarian version, let me know down below in the comments. So now I'm gonna add my 4th cup of broth. A good full cup. And with that, it's the halfway point, so I want to add my fresh sprig of rosemary. I want to leave it whole. I don't want to be too aggressive with it to break up the leaves. I just want a nice subtle rosemary flavor, and leaving it whole in there is going to give me that flavor. So now we're going to just add the last cup of broth. But first, I'm going to actually fish out this sprig of rosemary. We're gonna add this last cup of broth. Now I've been stirring the risotto the entire time, and you really want to do that so the risotto does not stick to the bottom of your pan. Stirring it right when the liquid goes in helps it to, you know, everything gets fully saturated. You want it all to get incorporated, and continue stirring just to keep it from sticking. So now I'm going to add the last tablespoon of butter. And this is a truffle risotto, right? So we would definitely want to add some truffle oil. This stuff goes a long way. You only need a little bit. I'm probably going to add about teaspoon and a half to flavor the entire dish. So at this point, while it's still soupy, I want to turn off the heat. I want to add in my mushrooms with the juices that have come out of them. Okay. And I want that all to get well incorporated, and we're just going to move it off the stove. This is a good time to add your fresh Parmesan cheese. So I'm just going to take my grater, and we are going to grate a good amount of Parmesan cheese for a little extra creaminess, a little extra bite of saltiness. And that's another reason why I added the low sodium chicken broth. Parmesan cheese can be quite salty. If I added regular chicken broth, your entire dish may be just too salty, depending on how you like it. Okay. So I've grated about half a cup. You can also use Parmesan cheese that's already been grated. I just like to use the rinds that come off of the fresh Parmesan. I keep them in the freezer, and I leave them whenever I'm making a soup or a stew. It's the perfect addition to any soup or stew, a Parmesan rind. It gives a nice richness and creaminess that you can't really get from anything else, so it's always good to have on hand in the freezer. Okay, so this is just about ready. I'm gonna let these liquids absorb just a little bit more and we will start eating. There you have it, guys. Super simple, delicious, and easy meal, side dish, leftovers. These are perfect to make arancini with the day after. Arancini is just a little risotto ball that you fry, and it's a nice crispy outside with the risotto on the inside. Let me know if you want a recipe for that. So all I do to finish this off is, I mean, you can never have too much cheese, right? I'm gonna put a little bit more Parmesan on this baby. Okay. Gonna sprinkle this with a little parsley, because again, who doesn't love fresh herbs? A little extra color. And bam, we have risotto. And I'm about to have risotto right now. Getting a little excited. All right. You guys have to try this. It's creamy without adding any cream. The mushrooms give it a nice meatiness to it. And the chicken broth really comes through. The truffle oil gives it such a nice flavor. You have to try this. And if you do, make sure to tag me in your pictures. I really would love to see if you make this. For the full recipe, go to my blog. I'll have all the links down below. Feel free to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching the bite.